Are the rumors true? Did you break 90?
I did last off season,
Oh,
but not since then. No, I've been trying to play more though. We got a big golf outing this weekend with some of the guys. Now that everybody's back in town, so it's gonna be fun. I think we're playing 2 or 3 rounds and do a little competition, so it'll be good.
It's your first offseason in the NFL, not having to learn a new offense. So
Yeah.
How does that help you and the offense as a whole get ahead?
Yeah, I think it's definitely there's some, I guess, comfort in knowing that I already know the system and our core group of guys already know it. Obviously, you got Calvin and some guys up front, and then some new running backs, all of that need to get up to speed, but that'll happen, and we have so much time to do it. I think it was nice this offseason being able to focus a little bit more just on the physical side of, training and getting my body right, especially after a long year, with some just lingering, maybe injuries, little stuff from the season. So had a chance to take a little break, help some of that heal up, and then really just, work on my body. And obviously prepping and there's things, you watch tape and you figure out some of the weaknesses from last year individually as an offense, some of the strengths. So you kind of figure out the stuff that you want to work on. I was able to focus more on that than, all right, I got a whole new system I have to learn, and I don't really, you have to kind of start from scratch. So it was nice having that comfort of knowing, I know the system, and that's not an obstacle I'm going to have to really face this year. But now it's just, how do we take that next step, for myself and for the offense.
What did you watch the most? Was it like game film? Was it stuff
Yeah,
opponent?
it's a lot of cut-ups just of our season. You got organized by, concept, whatever that is. We have different names for different groupings of stuff that we do. So it's looking at all of that, like every play we ran in those certain families and seeing what were we good at, what did we struggle with. Obviously, there's things that we did really well that we kept coming back to throughout the season, but then there's things that, maybe we tried to do a few times that we weren't great at, or even just for myself, like what were my consistent misses on certain throws, or, is it mechanical? Is it just a miss? Is it because of pressure? Just all those things you look at, and, you talk to the coaches and kind of see, where are we on the same page with all those things? And a lot of them lined up, and that's kind of what we've been talking about in our meetings the last few days of how we start the off season of, what do we want to work on? And obviously you start from the ground up, especially because you do have new guys that have to learn the system, but you can move a little faster because the majority of us already know it.
What's it like getting to know and working with Calvin Ridley so far?
He's been awesome. He's hungry. He's excited to be here. He's got the right attitude. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed. And then on the field, he's a freak. Just the way he runs routes, how explosive he is. Great hands. It seems like he's picking stuff up. Obviously, we just started, but it seems like he's picking it up pretty quickly. And he has that experience. He's played for a few years, so he's used to having some new systems, having to learn that, and some stuff obviously carries over through offenses. But he's been great. I'm just excited to have him to be a part of our room. It seems like he's really gelling with the guys. Great. It's not the hardest group to gel with. It. Christian and Zay and all those guys are awesome. I think they treat guys well, and they've kind of brought him in, and it's going really well. And he seems super hungry and ready to go.
When you have so much stability on the offense outside of him, is it easier to kind of be able to kind of, I guess, loop in a guy like that since everybody else kind of knows and you've been communicating with them so far?
Yeah, for sure. Even just not even from obviously it's easier for me because I don't have. I'm not trying to learn it myself because I already know, our system, but then I'm also not trying to communicate that with 10 different guys. It's really just a few guys that are new that you're trying to explain, whether it's footwork or how we run certain routes or kind of what we're thinking. And I can say, hey, we're running this route, watch Zay, watch Christian, that's how we're running it, and they can kind of tell you, all your splits, all that stuff, and they can help them just as much as I can. So it's nice having that support too from those guys, along with CJ and those guys too. So having all that makes it a lot easier to get guys up to speed, and it just happens that much faster.
No, he's not in the building right now, but I know you've had a chance to work out with Evan a little bit this offseason.
Yeah.
Vibes with him, how are things going as far as trying to balance knowing you're in the building X amount of days a week and also getting work outside the building?
Yeah, it's been great. We threw a few weeks ago, and he looks great. He's in great shape. Obviously, it's good to see him. We have a really good relationship, so been staying in touch with him, and he's doing great. I know he's taking care of business on his end, and he's doing a great job of you can tell he's going to be ready when the time comes. Obviously, in my position, I don't have any control in that, and it's just kind of something they got to work out, and I'm just here ready for whenever that day is he comes back. So it's all, but like I said, with a guy like that, and you guys have all seen it with his work ethic, and our coaches and staff feel the same way. You don't worry about him. He's taking care of business, and he's going to be ready. So it's not something you worry about. Obviously, it's a guy you want around just because he's great for the locker room, and he's a great player. So, but we know that's going to come. So.
What was your reaction when you first learned of the numbers on Jalen Hurts' contract?
Yeah, it was a big one. It's a big one. So I think that's awesome for guys to be rewarded for their play, and not even their play, but just, I don't know Jalen super well, but it seems like, his character is great, and he seems like a great leader, and I think it's always awesome to see guys get rewarded for that, and for a team to obviously believe in them that much and kind of go all in on them. So it's cool to see, and obviously a big number, which is good for the future of guys playing the position. So I think it's really cool.
As a quick follow-up, now that you're here in your third year, how much more comfortable and maybe more assertive are you with suggesting plays for the offense and being more participatory in the playbook calling or whatever form that might take?
Yeah, I think just that's another step to take this year. Is now it's my second year, finally my second year in the same system. So we have that experience of having a full season, and got to that towards the end of the season. We got to where we did that a lot, and I did that, made some checks, made some changes, or recommended things, and so that relationship with the coaches has grown a lot to where I'm comfortable doing that. And then obviously it's so early in OTAs. That's not really where we're at right now. We're still kind of just laying the groundwork, like general information, getting on the same page with the new guys, and then we're going to start installing soon. But we're not quite there yet, but I think that's going to be something that takes off way sooner this year, because we have so many guys that have been in the system, including myself, and you can start day one or whatever. When you start going against the defense, if it's a look I don't like for that play, can just change it because guys know it. So being able to start there instead of like last year, you have a play, it's not a good look from the defense, but we're still learning the system, we're not checking anything. Then you go and film, you're like, okay, this is not really what you want, but here's some things that we could do. Now we can kind of start there. So I think that's where we should see the progression this year, which will put us even further ahead once we hit training camp, and then August and September.
Did you
There's
have
going to be
any?
expectations this year around here that there haven't been in quite a while. How does that impact how you approach the off season and this next couple of months? What's important about the next couple of months for you to focus on?
I think we can't really focus on the expectations. Obviously, you're doing something right when the expectations raise for your team. So obviously that's just a byproduct of the success we had last year. But still, we didn't. Last year didn't end the way we wanted it to. So it's obviously it was a good year for our team, for the city, for this organization. But there's more out there, and I think we've set a new standard of who we're going to be, the team we're going to be, and we got to start that way this year. And so that's the mindset. I think we don't really think about those expectations much, because all we can do is just try to keep getting better. And we know, for us, we feel like that's the floor. So that's really the only like expectations we think of that for ourselves. But I just don't think it's good to pay attention to that stuff. We know what we're capable of, and we've added more talent, and the sky's the limit for us. But we got to get better every week, and we got to focus on what's right in front of us. You can't talk about winning the Super Bowl right now. You got to look at getting better this week, and just keep stacking those for 4 or 5 months, and then when the season comes, that's how you put yourself in the best situation to just be your best every week and keep getting better.
Did you guys talk at all to Doug, to press, to the coaching staff? Did you find yourself, I don't know, like in February, coming up with a play and like texting them, or was it completely like you guys didn't think about anything until you got back in the building Monday?
No, I was around, I guess, right after the season, and we met and we talked and kind of, I guess, like broad vision, just some of the stuff in the season. Obviously, none of us, like myself or the staff, hadn't really looked through the tape at that point, but just talked about the season and everything. And then we took some time apart. I think that's healthy. We've been with each other for 7 months straight, here every day, almost all day. So we took some time, took a few weeks, and then once I started getting back in town, started working out again, then I'd come by, once a week, and we'd sit down and talk. And there's been a lot of things that me and Mike and Press and Doug, we've all talked about, of just, some, how do we, like, philosophy things that we look at, like what do we want to change, what were we really good at, like I already said. But so we've had those conversations. I wouldn't say as much like, oh, this is a play, I just thought of, but it's more like, something that we might have ran once last year that I liked, that was kind of a game plan, weekly play, but let's kind of make that more of a part of what we do. There were some definitely conversations like that.
This time last year, Fortner obviously wasn't even here, hadn't been drafted
Yeah.
yet. What kind of jump do you think you guys can make, your relationship with Luke and on the field, and what can that add to the offense this year?
I think it can add a ton. Obviously, this point last year, like you said, he wasn't here. And then when he got here, him and Shat were kind of going back and forth with reps. And then I guess into training camp at some point, he kind of took over that starting role. But he's still, I mean, as smart as he is, he's still a rookie and he's still trying to learn everything. And there's, you can only go so fast. Like you got to try to, and especially at that position, you can't try to do too much. So I think there was times where he just had to keep it simple just so he could play his best. And then seeing the growth throughout the season of just stuff that he sees. I mean, there was one example of one game where he's calling out cover 0 before I even saw it. And just so then I'm that much faster, I make my check. And that doesn't really happen much with guys up front. They're not usually seeing all that and taking in that information. So he's got all the ability in the world as far as processing. So now to see him take that next step, and he already knows everything. He can direct traffic, and he's playing with 3 or 4 other guys that have been here. So it's just that I think that group is so important to have chemistry, and they built that chemistry throughout the season and played really well. And I think that's obviously really nice to be able to start there instead of having to rebuild that all over again.
Have you been doing anything differently this offseason? You mentioned obviously not having to learn a new offense. Has your sort of prep or study been different than the last 2 off seasons?
It's definitely changed. Like I said, it's not about getting necessarily in the playbook and learning everything. It's more about looking at last season's tape and what we did. Because last year, I would look at really briefly the 2021 season just to see some mechanical stuff that maybe I didn't do well, or some areas that I can improve on. But that's not going to be my offense. I'm watching the tape. I'm like, the plays don't matter because that's not going to be our terminology. We're not going to be running those plays. A lot of our guys are changing. So I wouldn't say the tape wasn't useless, but to some degree it was like hard to use that to plan for this season. But now we have a full library of 20 games or 19 games from last year that we can use and see this is our offense. This is who we became throughout the year. A lot of the guys are the same. Obviously, you want to evolve and get better, but you can look at stuff that, hey, what can we do better? Now that we have Calvin, like how's that going to change our offense? What's stuff that we can do with him? That's even, me and Press talking about, Calvin's tape and what he's done in the past. What's he been good at? There's so much stuff that you can do, and you start at a different level when it's not a new system.
How much do you think it helps mentally for you and for the other guys going into a season where there's not a lot of questions, not a lot of distractions about, how good guys are going to be, how well they're going to play, that kind of thing? It's just sort of like normal.
I think it's really cool. And not even that, but obviously that's part of it. But I think just having the relationship that we have and going through what we did last year in a full season, like I said, with all these guys, and it's just a really tight group, and we have those great relationships. And I think my first year, obviously, and then going into my second year, it felt like you kind of have to rebuild a lot of those because a lot of guys aren't there. I mean, there's some carryover, but a lot of guys aren't there anymore, and you have new faces coming in. And that's always going to be the case, but to be able to limit it how we did, and there's not a ton of new guys, and I think it's helped us a lot. And like I said, we can just start way ahead of where we were. And there's things I can talk about with Christian and Zay and Luke and Brandon and whoever, Tyler Shatley, whoever it is, that maybe I couldn't have a year or 2 years ago because we've now played together for 2 years or a year for some of those guys, and you just start at a different place relationship-wise.
Even though there's a 2-year separation between you and the guys that are coming out for this year's draft, do you at any point feel compelled, if you happen to run into Trent, to give him a tidbit about somebody that you either played with or played against, and vice versa? Might Trent occasionally ask you something about somebody?
I mean, it depends. I've had conversations, obviously, even with our coaches about, guys that I've played with in the past at Clemson that are coming out, or maybe guys I played against, but more so played with, and just what I think about them. If it's someone that we could maybe be interested in, whether that's early or later in the draft, or if he's still available, whatever the case is, just I think it's more about like character and stuff like that, because obviously the tape is the tape, and if they don't think a guy is good enough, then that's kind of ends there. But if they do think he's a good player and have some interest, then I can speak on, all right, I played with this guy for 2 years or a year or whatever, maybe 3 years, and I can attest, like, you know, even one of them, like KJ Henry is a guy I lived with. That's just an example. I haven't talked about him necessarily with our staff, but like, that's just a guy, like I literally lived with him for a year and a half, my freshman and half my sophomore year. So if they were to ask me, I kind of know the person he is and stuff like that. So that's just an example, but yeah.
You joke about having a weapon for you?
Do what?
Did you joke with Trey? Hey, you know,
Obviously,
a weapon wouldn't be bad.
that's never a bad thing. So we'll see where, you know, we got some picks this year, so we'll see where we land. But I think, you know, we crushed it last year, and a lot of the guys played really well and really the last 2 years. So we're doing something right, and just to try to keep doing that and add into this locker room, and just I think the biggest thing, like I said, is the character piece of you got to have guys that think the same, and I think they've done a great job of bringing in guys like that, and I think that's why we had the success we had last year, as much as the talent, more so the mindset and just the culture we're building.
Thanks, Trevor.
You guys help Calvin.
Like 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah, a couple times before we started, and then yesterday we threw. So yeah, a few times.
Okay.
Then there was no one in the locker room, but I was just like, wow, I'm really back in here, and so I'm just really grateful to be in this position again, and around some great teammates, great quarterback, great coaches, and like I said, the second day, third day tomorrow, it's been amazing for me.
You've gotten to work out a couple times with Trevor so far. What are your early thoughts?
Yeah, I did. So I've been here for about 5 weeks. I've been here in the sun and running around and trying to, you know, learn the city and everything. Getting with Trevor, that's been great. You know, I feel like we're 2 good players, and we got a bunch of great teammates, other weapons to use, and I think we got to, you know, we're gonna be pretty good. We got to keep gelling, keep getting better. You know, get all the stuff out the way. But yeah, we're looking pretty decent right now.
Calvin, your Players Tribune was so well received. Did you get any comments that meant a lot to you once that was published?
Honestly, when I did that, I really did that for myself, and I did that for, you know, just to let some people know what was going on, because, you know, when I was on that year suspension, I was just, you know, I would come outside sometimes and talk to certain people that I wanted to talk to, friends, and I would just listen. I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what you think. That's what you thinking. That's what you thinking. So it was just, you know, for me personally, it was just more just to get it out and say, all right, y'all, I mean, I love football. And I just had it hard at that point. I mean, I was in my 4th season, and I didn't want it to be that hard. I mean, I'm a great player who works and who needs an off season in order to be great. I mean, most of us do. And that's kind of what I was saying. I was just like I work hard. I was hurt. I'm not soft at all. And I was in a tough situation. A lot of people I would have wished, I want to see how you would have handled that. So that's all I was saying.
How hard was that to put it all down?
It was, you know, the thing that made me, you know, more mad than anything, because I did it already. I already did that. Like, I was injured and played great. So it was like, I kind of put myself in that position where it was like, why can't you do it again? But I was like, damn, man, it's just a little too much. It's a little too much right now. I got to, you know, when you get to a certain point in your career, you got to look at yourself as a business at the same time. It's like, you know, I done sacrificed for a while. You know, I'm coming to you as a man and letting you know something I don't want to let you know. Let's work this out. And I'm going to be here forever. I mean, whatever you want to do, I'm willing to sacrifice for whatever, you know, is important to me.
Is it nice to have a clear mind?
Oh, man. It's, of course. I mean, I feel like I always had a clear mind, but, you know, I was injured. Once I got over that, everything went back to normal.
So now the questions will be, how's he going to perform
Right.
with 2 years off?
Right.
So how confident are you that that's not going to be an issue at all?
Man, if I'm being real and being honest, it's like I've been good at football all my life. I'm trying to be humble, you know. Like I said, I've been pretty good at football all my life, and I not only been good, I also worked to be good. And, you know, they say 2 years off, but what about the healing process that I got to be with that time off? What if I got faster? What if I got stronger? Obviously, I got wiser. Why can't I be better? So I kind of look at it like that. Obviously, you know, 2 years off, I got to go through the tightness, the leg tightness. I got to go through all the crap. But, I mean, I see myself being a good player. I do.
Do you feel like you got faster, that you got stronger?
Yeah. I mean, with a broke foot, you're going to lose a step. So when the foot got right and I started working out, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely a little faster than that situation. And I was good. I had the broken, I still was decent. So when it started to feel good and be normal again, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm running fast.
How long did it take for you to get to that point where you're back and ready to roll?
Can't lie, it took a while. I used the whole suspension. I didn't apply for appeal. I didn't do none of that. I used the whole suspension to get myself in every category back to being Calvin Ridley. And then once I felt like I was Calvin Ridley, I couldn't go to the field and show y'all I was Calvin Ridley. I just had to just be waiting on Twitter, just looking at my team, the Jaguars, and I'm just waiting for me to, get back in that process. And like, I'm in OTAs. I got so much time to get myself. That's the best part about this. And I'm at the workouts. I'm with the quarterback. I'm learning. It's just amazing, man.
What's it been like to be out there on the field a little bit with Trevor? And
it's been great, man. Like I said, I mean, I'm not trying to get into it too deep, but I love my quarterback right now. I mean, I love my teammates, the other wide receivers that I'm playing with. I think that we can be something really serious as long as that we take those steps to be, a really good team and a good core. I think that we could do some big things.
You threw out 1,400 yards. How'd you come to that number?
Yeah, man. So when I put that in there, I know I can, what I said by that is this. I am a 1,400-yard type of player. God is going to determine what type of stats I am going to have. And, football is not just, football is serious. I mean, you don't just play 17 games straight and think you're going to be in every one of them and playing healthy in all of them. So what I'm saying is I am a 1,400-yard receiver with a broke foot. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. So I know that I can make the plays, and I know that I'm one of the better receivers in this league. That's what I'm saying.
Did the trade catch you by surprise?
Nah.
No. So you knew.
Mm-hmm.
Did the team catch you by surprise?
Nah.
No.
Are you friends with Foye Oluokun at all? Of
course.
What's it been like being reunited with
Yeah,
Foye?
I'm definitely friends with Foye. We came to Atlanta together, was drafted there. Foye, he went to Yale. Obviously, I went to Alabama, so I was already like, nah. I don't know. He got to show me. Man, I mean, he showed me the first day, and he's been showing everybody ever since. And, like I said, one of the smartest guys ever been around, fast, big, physical, just a dog.
What's been your impression of Doug so far? Just give
Oh, man, just very cool, very happy, very, he believes. I mean, he believes in everyone. He believes in me. He makes me feel like, all right, I could be here. I could play great here. I got a great person who believe in me, for real, and I believe in myself. And he's, like I said, he just makes me feel comfortable, and I get that from everybody else. Everybody thinks he's just comfortable, man, smooth, just like us. So that's always great.
You had a unique perspective once you did get dealt to the Jaguars, because you could watch, know you're going to join the team, but also probably say, hey, they could use this, they could use that.
See, people look at my situation like, all right, I looked at it different. I mean, y'all didn't see me. I was like, oh, I mean, I'm healing, I'm feeling good, I'm on my workouts. I'm feeling great. I can't wait till Sunday when the Jags play. That's all I really had to look for. I wasn't watching the other teams. Yeah. I was waiting for the Jags to play, and it was just like, I was just putting myself in situations like, all right, let me see. I watch probably, I watch every play maybe 10 to 12 times over and over, every play they ever did here last season. So I kind of was trying to just put myself in those situations like, all right, yeah, they're damn good. Shit, I know who I am. I know who I am. I can help them. Like, and I really mean that. I know I can help move the ball, and I know, like, what we have in that room is, I mean, we should be able to move the ball.
Yeah, that was my question.
As long as we get better.
When you put yourself in that situation, where did you say, hey, this is what I can bring? This is what maybe they didn't have last year.
I'm sorry, say that again. Sorry.
So when you watch back from last year, when you were watching it live, what were some things that you said,
right.
Maybe they don't have this, I can do this for them?
One of the biggest things I said is like, so when I started watching, I was just like, okay, yeah, they're good. They maybe start off a little slow. They're starting off a little slow, getting a little behind, and then they make a great comeback. What if you started off so amazing in the beginning and finished off like that? I mean, wow, what the team could be. And I was thinking, like, I know the player I am, the systems I've been in, I'm one of those players they try to get the ball to sometimes on the first play of the game. And I'm always pretty much ready to, crank it open, get it open. And I feel like I can help start that energy and start moving the ball right away as soon as the game pop off.
When you got traded to the Jaguars were not yet what they became by the end of the year. So my question to you is, what was your perception about the Jaguars when
Trevor Lawrence.
you first heard about the trade, and how do you feel now with a very limited association with everybody?
Yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence, because I didn't know anyone. All I knew was he could throw, and I'm watching it, and then I like the receiver core, Evan Ingram, ETN. I think Calvin Ridley added to that. Zay Jones. Obviously we got way more than that. I just think I was looking at all right, I could be good there, and that could be a home for me.
You mentioned you've been in town for 5 weeks. What do you thought about the city as a whole? Any Jaguars fans you bumped into yet?
Oh man, I done made my way around a little bit. So my face is surprisingly is well known around here. So, I stop at a couple car washes, hang out with those. Let them know who I am. I've seen a bunch of kids. I am telling them, yes, it is Calvin Ridley when they ask, because, I'm semi-famous. So they kind of like, are you Calvin Ridley? It's like, yeah, I am, bro. I'm Calvin Ridley. So I kind of let them know who I am. But it's been pretty good. It feels home. It feels good, man. Can't wait to.
What's the
Oh, we
best
got
meal?
Foye on deck for just a few more.
Yeah, what's the best meal you've had?
So I've been eating at the fish camps. I started at the fish camps.
Are you gonna hit them all?
Yeah, I'm going to hit them all.
Yeah.
Fish camp, any fish camp right now, I'm going to eat that. Yeah.
I saw a video of you coming across the bridge and seeing your name on the video.
Oh, yeah, that was dope.
And you said, hey, I want to send this to my mom.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells us that family is really important to you. What was their reaction of you getting back, and how was their support the whole time?
The biggest thing for me, so I have a house in Atlanta. And when I got suspended, I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Coral Springs, Florida with my mom. And I just remember that day they told me I was suspended. I was like, dang. I looked at my mom. I was like, dang. I was like, man. So on purposely, when it was time for me to get reinstated, I went home to my mom's house and I waited. It took about 2 weeks because I was like, I didn't know when they were going to let me in, what day. So I sat there, and I was like, okay, they called, said, you're back. My mom seen it. And the day that I got suspended, she doesn't have social media, so she goes online and reads it all. I was like, oh, man. And then when I got put back in, I could just see my family was probably more excited than me, for real. So that was the biggest thing. My girls, I got a daughter, a wife, brothers. They want me, they root for me. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm so happy I got back in there.
You touched on having Foye, but what about having Cam Robinson and I think Steve Sabo is a guy who vouched for you here. What is it like to have some friends in the building?
Yeah.
It's Christian Kirk, right? You guys,
yeah,
you guys hit it off too pretty well.
Yeah, me and Chris Kirk been doing this since high school, man. I've been knowing Kirk, seeing him at all type of camps. Like I said, I played with Foye in Atlanta. Big Cam me and him was in Alabama. And like everybody else in the building, like they've been real respectful to me. I did make plays in this league. I've been making plays like throughout the course of my life. And, guys respect me. I'm not a disrespectful person. I'm coming at everyone with respect. And, I'm just trying to, make my way around and meet everyone, remember everybody's name, and just, get this thing going for me, personally.
Cool. Thank you all.
All right. Thank y'all.
So who told you in December that UConn would win the national
Yeah,
tournament?
you did say
Oh, I'm
that.
just
I
kidding.
did not watch them, but I watched them in the tournament. I was like, what? They've been this good? But what happened in the middle of the season? How they slipped?
COVID,
COVID. Oh, somebody got COVID?
Yeah, Coach Hurley got COVID.
Oh, that's what it was?
That's why they lost like 6 of 8 or whatever.
I see. We can excuses.
Yeah. I won't ask.
They won the whole thing, so I might be right.
I won't ask about the Cats. How was your off season? What did you do?
What did I do? Saw some friends, kept up my Yale connections. Saw my family, obviously, my brother, my parents. Went back to St. Louis, just chilled out there, good calm headspace. Then eventually started working out a little bit here, lightly. Then I went to Denver to really start moving again. That's kind of my routine. Saw some friends on the weekends if I felt like I needed to see some people. But, just stuck to my routine. Always about being better than I was last year. Going forth in my career.
What was the biggest thing that you learned last year that you said maybe I need to do a little bit more this offseason?
First, it's going to be understanding our scheme, how people attack our scheme. I think that when you play more years in a scheme, then you can understand, where people are going to be sitting down or exactly like down a distance, where I should be looking at, what plays I can make, what plays I didn't make last year. I mean, we already started looking at it. I'm over here kicking myself. But, when you take some time off and then come back to it, now you're kind of coming back to it as a student. And you want to be able to apply what you learned going into next year so I can play faster and make more plays for this team.
You were a teammate with Calvin Ridley. You just talked about, you guys getting to know each other in Atlanta. Can you talk about what he brings to this locker room and to the Jaguars as a team?
I mean, first, he's a good dude. Very respectful dude. I heard him talking about that. But, he respects the game for sure. He's going to come in, he puts that work in. And even with all the talent that he has, he's a hard worker. And he came in, even though it's OTAs, he looked ready to go. I talked to some people running routes with him, and they said he looked ready to go. So I'm very excited for him, and I hope he has all the success that he needs here, or gets all the success that he needs here, because I definitely believe in all of his talent and ability. But obviously he's going to be a weapon for us on offense. And whenever he gets the ball, he can make a big play out of it. So I'm excited to see what the offense does with him.
Talking about your shirt.
What's that?
Tell me about the shirt.
The shirt, man, that's what the defense believes in right here. We was down and out, and then we started talking about thinking takeaways. Coach Bob Sutton said if we want to become an effective defense in the league, we got to take the ball away. So we all came back this OTAs, and this was in our lockers. Think takeaways. And me personally, I want more takeaways. Elevate my game, elevate this defense, and you got to be thinking it at all times. So you go to sleep thinking it, you wake up thinking it's going to happen for you. So we're going to get more takeaways. I think we was top 10, top 5 in the league, maybe number 4. We just went over it. Takeaways, man. Get that ball in your hands. Good things happen.
After you've been able to sort of see what happened during the season last year on defense, what gives you the confidence, I guess, that this team might take a bigger leap on defense this year?
It's really understanding the scheme, understanding my teammates next to me, and then we can all communicate together. So it's not, I've been in the league a long time. It's not me communicating what I'm seeing, what I'm anticipating. It's kind of bouncing ideas off each other before the play, seeing what we're seeing even during the play. So all these guys coming under, expect this guy coming over. You know what I'm saying? So kind of the experience that we all have of playing together, and then within the same scheme, being able to play faster, being one step ahead of where we were last year. Because I definitely want to improve on what I did last year as a defense, what we did last year. We got to make more things happen.
You guys have 3 players that'll be going into their second year, Trayvon, Chad, and Devin. What was that like for you going year 1 to year 2, and how big of a jump can a player make in that time?
A big jump, just because you understand where you're supposed to be on every play. You're going to go watch all this film, all these cut-ups of, plays that you might have messed up on technically, but now it's like, all right, you're going to see the same formation next year. So now it's like, all right, I know I'm going to be here. I remember from last year they ran these kind of plays out of this formation. Just being, as I said, one step ahead of the game now, making sure you're retaining that information, learning from your mistakes, and kind of just applying that to be a better second-year player. I think this is just how it goes.
How do you look at these workouts? Are these just a good time to kind of get most of the team together and kind of start the gelling process?
Gelling process, culture, keep that culture up. Obviously, we enjoy being together. We definitely have fun out there, but everybody's working. We don't take the workouts lightly, I'll put it that way. But we have a lot of fun out there, kind of guys jawing back and forth at each other. Make sure we're keeping the camaraderie up. But we definitely, lifting our weights and stuff. And then if you need to, get a little extra eventually as this OTA period goes on, seeing what, you feel like you need to improve on, work that into your workout as well.
Does culture not automatically carry over if it's most of the same guy?
All I know, Atlanta won the Super Bowl 2 years before I got there. I'm pretty sure, like, the brotherhood and stuff, when I first got there, was very similar, but we weren't winning. So I just want to make sure we're keeping up that same standard that we always tried to preach about in Atlanta when I was first there, that same standard that we had going in the end of last year, how we approach things, how we making sure, no excuses about things. Same thing got to come to anybody new coming to the team, anybody who was on the team last year. Remember what got us there, even improve on that. Because it's easy to say, all right, we got it now. We surprised some people then, but they're going to be ready for us. So it's like we got to have that same standard, even improve on it to make a leap from last year. Yeah, I'm definitely preaching that.
Sorry, when you watch the tape back from last year as a team, what was the biggest thing that the Jaguars need to improve upon on defense?
We just got to finish plays, finish tackles, tackle better, better communication pre-snap. And then, just trust your brother in their assignment. A lot of that was a new scheme. A lot of times we're going into weeks with kind of new variations of plays. So that now, like, if we have the same plays from last year, maybe tweak some stuff up. But we understand where we're all supposed to be, so now we can disguise better. Now we can kind of, maybe tilt this safety down or bring this safety on the blitz because, week in, week out, we run in the same plays. They kind of know how we line up to it. Now when we get, like, some more comfortability, if that's a word, some more suaveness and stuff in our call, we can kind of play with a little bit, try to disguise a little bit, make sure we can make our play at the end of the day, but not have a tell for ourselves.
Teams obviously change year to year. This team, you kept most everybody intact, the core. Do you guys feel like this is a little bit of a run it back situation? Let's run it back and be a little bit better than last year.
Be better. I mean, I hope we do better than last year. Run it back. I mean, we got the same guys, but we know we got steps to take. I don't think we can have success with how we played last year. I think we have to be better than last year. And I'm going to keep preaching that to the guys. We're definitely a young, malleable team, and we can be molded to any way we start going. So we got to make sure we're going in the right direction. We can't just line it up how we was last year. We got to be better. And we're going to have that attitude the whole offseason.
From a leadership standpoint, what was the challenge that you had last year coming in as a free agent versus now where you've led this team and led the league in tackles and established yourself?
Last year, I'm kind of a naturally kind of shy guy. When I get comfortable around people, that's when I kind of, I won't say exert myself, but I'm comfortable with people comfortable with me. Lead by example at first, make sure I take care of, how people view me, and then I can start, leading them. But, a whole bunch of young guys, too, on top of that, I kind of had to start talking a little earlier. Now I got more comfortable with those young guys. I start trusting those young guys. They're taking accountability within themselves to get better, to understand the defense and stuff. The sky's the limit for us as long as we stay on the same page. And just stay comfortable with each other, keep working on our connections. That way on the field, it's the same way. It just seems seamless, like we best friends out there, playing for each other.
Thanks, Foye.
Thanks so much.
Of course. Yep.